Hi, everyone. I'm Alexa from Watershed. Welcome to Future Proof, our new podcast series. In this show, we sit down with business leaders who have figured out how to make sustainability a competitive edge. These are the people who walk into their CEO's office and say, "This is good for business, and this will make us money." Today, we'll hear from the sustainability leader of a 130-year-old advanced materials manufacturer on why investing in clean power makes business sense for them and how they built a clean power strategy for the long term. Let's dive in. Welcome to Future Proof. Today we are talking about clean power, why companies are continuing to invest in clean power even right now, even in the United States, and how they're seeing returns on those investments. I'm really excited to welcome our two guests to the show today. We've got Matt Konieczny from Watershed. In Watershed, we know him as Clean Power Matt. Matt, could you introduce yourself and give us the quick elevator pitch on what you do at Watershed, please?
Yeah, absolutely. This is fun. So I'm Matt. I work on our decarbonization products at Watershed. So once our customers have measured their footprint or measured their supplier's footprint, we work on ways to make it easy, affordable, and impactful for them to decarbonize their operations. And I'm just really excited to work with companies who are showing that we can deliver on impactful decarbonization while also making decisions that businesses get really excited about. So
Yes.
glad to be here today.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. Really excited to talk more about that. And for that, we've got Anna Yates, Head of Sustainability at Albany International. Anna, explain to us, Albany International, major company, it's been around for a long time. What exactly does the company do? And can you explain this as if I'm your 8-year-old so I can understand it?
Okay, great. Yes. Well, in my kids' yearbook, they said that I make airplanes. So that's
Perfect.
that's what they think I do. I don't personally make the airplanes, but our Albany Engineered Composites division of Albany does make carbon fiber composite components for aerospace and defense applications. So carbon fiber is lighter than metal in most cases, and so we are helping to make the aircraft lighter and therefore more fuel efficient, higher performance, and therefore also more sustainable. We have another division called Albany Machine Clothing, and we make large industrial textiles that are used in the papermaking industry and also in other industries like fiber cement and other textiles and tannery applications.
So we would not see these things. They're like the ingredients to bigger manufactured items. Is that right?
That's right. If you're getting on an airplane and you look to your right typically, and you can see the engine on the wing, the fan blades that go
Mhm.
around and around, as well as the fan case that holds all the parts of the engine together. Albany International makes a lot of those components on
It's
on
fascinating.
the airplanes that you're flying on.
Okay, now we know. I will notice Albany where I go now. Thank you. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you both to indulge me in a little icebreaker. So we all work in sustainability in one flavor or another. What is your personal sustainability quirk? Like maybe the thing you do at home that your friends think is a little weird. I will share mine. We compost. We try to do whatever we can around the house, but I tried to roll out reusable toilet paper and experienced a revolt from my children and my husband. So I have not succeeded on that front. We do use the reusable paper towels, but toilet paper is my white whale. We're going to get there someday.
That's hilarious. And I can go next because mine is actually a little bit related. And I've been doing this since I was a child. My mother will vouch for this. I have a habit of using a paper towel for something and then leaving it because I will come back to use it. But what that actually looks like in practice is that there is often a collection of paper towels that are lightly used, going to be used again until they absolutely can't be used anymore, and then put in the compost. But I realize for those around me that can be perhaps a slightly annoying sustainability quirk.
I love this. Matt, how about
My
you?
wife does the same, Anna, and I also am on the fence about that approach. Um,
Fair.
so for me, one thing we do, we live in London. We live right next to a park. People in London, anytime there's sun, they're enjoying the park. They're out having drinks and food. And so there's a lot of litter around where we live. And I make my kids go, we have pickers and we go pick up the litter. they have noticed that there are street cleaners and they ask why we need to do this. And when street cleaners will come through anyway, you will sometimes see me on a Saturday morning with an angry 7-year-old behind me picking up litter. But I think she's coming around to the benefits of it.
I love that. And when our kids go to therapy, they'll be like, there's this weird thing that
Yes.
my parents made me do. But that's okay, making our mark on the next generation. Okay, my first question is kind of a step back for both of you. Again, we all work in sustainability, different flavors of roles. 2025, midway through this year, things are pretty different than they were this time last year. I want the big picture kind of zeitgeisty feel for your role. What's the same? What's different? How are you feeling right now?
I can go first. I think what's interesting about being a global company is that we're focused so much beyond the United States. And so, even though the environment has definitely changed a lot here in the US, there is so much else going on all over the world and where we operate, where our customers are focused, where they're based, that it's easier to remain just steady and focused because there's always going to be the ups and downs in the political environment. And we see that everywhere. But I think that for us, a lot has stayed the same, really, because our customers are largely global and they're still doing what they've always been doing. And I think that a lot of our stakeholders feel like, well, there is a lot of change, a lot of uncertainty, it's all very dynamic. It's going to be relatively short term that we will see this level of uncertainty, and then things will hopefully get back to a slightly more even keel.
Matt, how about you?
So 2025 has been a disruptive year for sustainability. And now I think we need to ask ourselves how much of that disruption was good and how much of it was bad. The bad stuff, I don't think I need to enumerate here. Everybody knows what's happening. Do think, and I'm not trying to be overly optimistic here, I think there's a lot that we should learn from the last 4 years. We all benefited over the last 4 years of the tailwinds of everybody signing up to climate pledges and CEOs wanting to announce big programs. I always questioned our ability to get to 2030, 2040, 2050 on the basis of big publicity announcements, right? Ultimately, the work that people like Anna does, the chief sustainability officers, the climate leads, the reporting leads, that's what was going to get us there. And the way that businesses were going to continue to invest in that work was if we demonstrated that there is a business case behind sustainability. And so I actually think this can be a very promising moment for us. There are, of course, the challenges. I'm not going to pretend they're not there. And next year will be harder than 2024 because we will be going off of this difficult year. But as we emerge out of this period, I see this opportunity for us all working in sustainability to double down on making that business case. If I make my business lower emitting, if I manage my carbon, am I going to increase my chance of winning key customers? Am I going to increase my ability to convince certain private equity funds, certain major investors to invest in my company? If I figure out how to manage my energy emissions, meaning if I reduce my energy usage, am I going to save costs while also reducing my CO2? And so I think all of us need to be very realistic that we are entering a difficult time. And we should use that as a prompt to figure out, okay, first principles. What do businesses care about? Profit, and they care about lasting for a long time, future-proofing themselves. Well, everything I just said sounds like an opportunity for sustainability. You want to grow, you need to make yourself attractive to lots of different customer types. You want to be financially attractive, you need to figure out how to manage your costs. You want to future-proof your business, you need to think about where the world is heading, and that is to a world where sustainable businesses are attractive to investors, are attractive to consumers. And so I actually think we have a real opportunity to use 2025 as a reset to make sustainability programs deliver what companies care about while also being super impactful.
Love that. Thank you.
I think I can make a couple of comments in response. I think, Matt, that was just so well articulated. And I think as a global company, I think that it absolutely provides us with that opportunity to, like you said, to reset. And I think it also helps us to refocus on the key areas where impact and value for the business is possible. And like you said, there are a lot of those areas.
Yeah,
Exactly.
totally. And what a great moment it will be when we are able to show all the people who say sustainability is not good business that it is good business.
100%.
So, Matt, you teed it up really well. Anna, can you just give us the concrete story of Albany on the ground, and especially with your clean power journey, because that's what we're here to hear more about.
Sure. At the end of 2023, we set our first sustainability goals. And so we agreed on a reduction of scope 1 and 2 by 50% by 2030 and zero waste to landfill by 2030 at our locations in the Americas and Europe. Um, so we've embarked on that plan and are really working to operationalize that strategy, all of which is quite new. And we're really trying to leverage on all of the infrastructure and capability that's already within our organization. And we've been working very closely with Matt and his team at Watershed. So one of the first things that we did was to sign on to a virtual power purchase agreement with Watershed as part of their cohort that closed in January 2025, earlier this year. That gets us about halfway to our emissions reduction goal already. And so, as part of getting us the rest of the way towards our goal, we're now looking at on-site solar at a number of our facilities where there's actually a strong business case for on-site solar. And so those are the ones that we're starting with, and we're working with the Watershed team to evaluate that. And that's really exciting because all of our facilities that are part of this process are really excited about the prospect of having on-site solar. And we are in manufacturing, so we use a lot of energy for our processes. And to be able to meet even some of that need through on-site solar that's renewable, and once we initially make the investment would be free for the energy after that, that's a material cost savings potentially.
Anna, Albany's been in business for 130 years. You've had facilities, I would imagine, for a very long time. Tell me about the moment of, oh my God, we could just put solar on top of these facilities. How did that happen? Where did it come from?
I think it's actually come from a lot of different places, which is why I feel very lucky to be able to do my job. Because when I started here, that sort of information started coming directly to me from a variety of different places and different sites around the world, really. So that's been great. There's always been an interest there, and there have been people who have gone out and done engineering feasibilities at different sites. So my job has been more taking all of that information and figuring out, how do we prioritize this? How do we get a consistent methodology for evaluating where, when, how we want to make these investments? And that's where the partnership with Watershed has also been really helpful, because their team is experts in this and is able to help us do the financial modeling and figure out where the strongest business cases lie. And then that gives a much tidier set of information for me to provide to my finance teams and to the business leadership for them to really evaluate where and how they want to invest in this on-site solar.
So, was this truly grassroots? You've got like a facilities manager over here who's like, hey, I've got an idea. Anna, what do you think? And then a different person over there.
Yes, truly. And it's been amazing. And so I'm getting engineering feasibility studies in languages that unfortunately I cannot read, but it's really exciting
Yeah.
because yes, someone at that facility has gone out and done an engineering feasibility study to see whether it would be possible. It was truly grassroots.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so then when you're making that ROI case, what are some of the factors you considered, and how did you make that kind of repeatable case for considering solar at a facility?
So for this next phase, we've got the sites that have solar already, and then for the sites that we're evaluating currently, I'd say we're still quite early in that. So we're about to embark on an RFP process at 3 of our facilities. Some of the things that we're looking at is how we would finance it, whether to look at renting the rooftop as the scenario or whether we want to make that investment ourselves. If we do want to make the investment, whether we finance that with cash or take a loan out to finance it. So there are a number of different options depending on the location, depending on the site, and a lot of other different factors that we'll be looking at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I would imagine it's hard to make a cookie cutter decision for something as complicated as this.
I think that's been one of the biggest learnings is that there's no real one size fits all approach for these evaluations, and it varies so much by geography and by the weather patterns and by what's actually feasible at the site based on the age of the roof or whatever the other constraints.
Yeah. So Matt, let me turn it to you. You work with a lot of different companies across different sectors in different regions. Are you seeing similar kind of interest in things like on-site solar and VPPAs, investments in these areas? And then I have a follow-up question, which is like, okay, we've got this One Big Beautiful Bill Act that says we're sunsetting credits in the US at the end of 2027. So what does that mean? Do we have to accelerate some of these projects? How are companies taking that news?
Absolutely. So I see, people like Anna are so fun to work with because they are on the front lines of decarbonizing businesses where, sustainability is not your natural thought necessarily. I think people sometimes make the mistake of associating corporate sustainability programs with kind of like the big brands, but there are people and C-suites and executive teams committed at every company to figuring out how to make their business sustainable. The couple challenges that we hear over and over again from these sustainability leads, CSOs like Anna, is first with reporting. I need to be able to talk about what I'm doing. And so Watershed, through a combination of software and services, tries to solve that problem to free up the time for what I think most people came into their job to do, which is figure out how to reduce the carbon in their business. And then second, when we were looking at this, how do we reduce carbon in business? Everybody has seen the graph of the drop in prices from 1990 or 2000 of solar panels. Like, we've all heard this story that solar is this compelling solution. Lots of businesses do it, many struggle to implement it. So we started wondering why. And when we talk to teams, we hear a few of the same challenges. One common refrain is, we've been looking at this for 12, 18 months, but kind of haven't made a decision, yes or no. That's very troubling to me. I wonder, why is that happening? And so what we've found is that, first of all, there are many markets where it just makes pure business sense to install solar. It is not every market, but in certain states and certain geographies, depending on what your utility bill is, it makes a lot of sense to remove yourself from the grid to the extent possible and make a long-term commitment and get zero cost energy, while, oh, by the way, reducing your carbon emissions. Now, and I know I'm enumerating, but I'm also losing track of my numbers here. So maybe it's second, maybe it's third. The second thing I think that we see is that there's this challenge for climate teams and sustainability teams to figure out how to influence the organization. And I think every person working in sustainability is just chomping at the bit for the opportunity to go to their CFO and say, I don't need more money. I'm here to tell you about the money we're going to save.
Totally.
But why are we in the situation? Why are we in the situation that companies are looking for 12 to 18 months and not making a decision, yes or no, to install on-site solar, when we know in many markets it is a very financially attractive decision? And so we've embarked on this process of taking what Watershed does well: software, services, and great partners, in order to make the process of getting from thinking about doing something to knowing whether it's a good idea or not, and then if you decide it's a good idea, to implementing it.
Anna, I'm going to kick it over to you because I would love to know, what was your case? How did you make this financial case? You kind of talked about it'll help us accelerate our path to our targets, but like, what did you walk into the CFO's office with? Was it a, I'm going to save you money, or was it kind of a more balanced approach?
Yeah, well, I think to get to where we are now, which is to embark on the RFP process, I was able to show the exact business case documents that Matt's referring to my leadership team here, and to be able to show, look, here are 3 different scenarios for this one site where an investment in on-site solar could make sense. And then we can look at which one might make the most sense for our particular business. But to be able to show, look, at this site, on-site solar has a valid business case and there's an operational savings over time, or however we want to look at it. I think that's really the compelling argument. And like Matt said, and then, oh, by the way, it also has this sustainability benefit and will help us get to our publicly stated goals, which is really important for all of our stakeholders. But I think to be able to have both the business case and the sustainability case working together is definitely compelling.
That's the magic. And Anna, one other question for you. I understand that because you have a presence in Europe, especially there, you've seen some customers asking for information about your sustainability practices, and you have this awareness that they might walk away from you as a supplier because of your lack of sustainability practices, if that were the case. Can you tell us more about that dynamic? What has that felt like? Are you seeing a rise in that? Is it particular to Europe or is it kind of widespread?
I think Europe is probably the most visible, and Europe is generally ahead on sustainability things. And we've also seen, of course, all this incoming regulation around the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, and that has also become dynamic and is a little bit back and forth, but the core principles look like they're going to be sticking around. So there are these more regulatory drivers as well in Europe. But certainly customer sentiment is on sustainability and on engaging with their suppliers, so us at Albany, to help support them in their goals. And so we're looking at it from two perspectives. One is our operational sustainability, which we've been talking about, and making sure that we can be making the products for our customers in a way that's supporting them towards their Scope 3 reduction goals as a key supplier in their value chain. And then we're also looking at our products, because our products are a huge portion of our carbon footprint and also for our customers. And so where we tend to see a big benefit is on our ability to make the customers' processes or products more efficient. So in the case of, say, our paper making customers, to be able to reduce the energy inputs, the water inputs, and be more efficient with the pulp in the paper making process, that can have a huge impact. And then also on the aerospace side, again, if we can make an aircraft 15% more fuel efficient, that has a huge impact over the lifetime of an aircraft, because they're often in service for 20, 30 years. So we really want to continue to innovate and to work with our customers to figure out where their pain points are, where their priorities are, and how we can develop even better products to help support them on that journey.
Yeah, I love that. It seems very forward looking for a company that's been around for a long time. Matt, I want to bring it back to you because I think we've talked a lot about the positive side of this, the ROI of investing in sustainability, the cost savings, operational savings. We haven't talked about the risk, and I would imagine many companies are looking at this as a risk mitigation initiative where there's revenue at risk if your customers are willing to walk away. There's risk in volatility of energy pricing. There's risk in compliance or unpredictable compliance requirements. What are you seeing in terms of risk as a driver and how companies are navigating that?
So first off, revenue at risk. I would encourage anyone working on a climate program, on a sustainability program at a company, you need to get on top of your revenue at risk calculations. I have worked with a lot of customers. I personally have worked on a couple of these where we've looked at who are my top 20 customers, how many of them have scope 3 targets, meaning they have a target based on what their supply chain is going to do to decarbonize, and how are they evaluating whether their suppliers are on track. Add up that revenue from that top 20, 30 suppliers and see how much revenue you have exposed. Go to your CFO, go to your CEO and say, of our top 20 accounts, X number representing Y $1 million of revenue have scope 3 targets. Meaning if they're not asking in RFPs today, they might be soon. Of course, if someone is already asking in RFPs, you should not be doing the analysis. You should be hitting the panic button, letting everybody know that we are at risk of losing business because we are not demonstrating decarbonization. And so we have seen this, and I mentioned customers. if you're a supplier to a large company that has a scope 3 target, and everybody listening to this probably is, it's also investors, and investors have varying degrees of interest in climate programs. Certainly private equity investors, Watershed works with the majority of the 10 largest private equity funds on their sustainability programs. And some of those, the people you don't necessarily think of as prioritizing sustainability, you think they just want to squeeze every dollar out of an investment. Those are not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? Because if you're an investor in private equity, you need to exit that business in 5-7 years. And if all of a sudden there are huge capital investors who are not going to be part of your exit strategy, who can't invest in your company or your portfolio company because it's not hitting decarbonization requirements, then your cost of capital goes up and your business is less valuable. So both that customer pressure and that investor pressure as a sustainability lead, you need to be on top of that. You need to know the analytics behind it. You need to know the numbers behind it.
Yeah, great.
Quick,
Switch to the advice column portion of our programming, starting with Matt, who can share some parenting advice. I'm just kidding. I'll let you off the hook. What is your advice for someone in your situation, or perhaps earlier on the journey toward clean power investments, possibly on-site solar or sustainability in general? What are things you learned along the way, things you wish you'd known? Any advice is useful.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is to think about it as an ecosystem approach. There is very little that I think one can do as an individual or even as a team, no matter how great of a team you are. I think that for me, it's an ecosystem approach internally because sustainability no longer sits in a silo. It's about business case, it's about innovation, it's about supporting customers. And so for that, you really need to engage your whole organization. And I think it's a positive feedback loop as well, because the more you engage people, the more you uncover these pockets of interest around the organization, because people everywhere doing any kind of job these days, there are people interested in sustainability or even really passionate about it. So I think that to have that approach internally really sets up for a lot greater success than trying to sort of go it alone. And then I think also having the ecosystem approach outside of your organization. So finding the right partners. I'm not an expert in the energy markets or in structuring VPPAs or in financial modeling for on-site solar. And so to find a partner in Watershed who can really support us with that and literally hand deliver that expertise and those evaluations has been massively helpful. And then, to have the same sorts of partnerships with some of our customers and with some other experts outside of our organization that can bring in these really fundamental and very specific pieces of expertise or just different perspectives. I think that's been one of the biggest learnings, because it's not the sustainability of maybe 20 years ago where it was possibly more siloed or more like within a box. It's very much integrated throughout the organization, and I think necessarily so.
I really love that. And it really rhymes with sustainability and the whole purpose of it to begin with, right? That we're not on this planet alone. We are not a single species. It is interconnected. And so great to extend that into the business context too.
Lex, can I comment on what Anne just said?
Please. Yes.
Yeah, I when we look at when I think about who are the most successful sustainability leads and CSOs within the Watershed network and just others we see, it's the enablers. It's the experts who are enabling their whole organization. In 2025, we see a ton of headwinds, and we're going to focus on those headwinds. There are political parties and political movements that just suck up a lot of energy. And with good reason. They are really affecting what we're doing. I also see big companies continuing to ask of their suppliers to reduce their emissions. I continue to see the biggest investors in the world saying, I will not be able to make money off of exiting your business if Canada Pension Plan and other, and European investors are not going to be in the market for this business. And so these little bumps that we feel along the way, and some of them feel very bumpy right now, they are still along a consistent trajectory of increasing the sustainability of businesses, of making future-proof businesses that will stand the test of time, that are equipped for regulatory change, equipped for consumer changes. And the role of a sustainability lead, and the successful sustainability leads, are the ones who are going to be knowledgeable about the opportunities, who are going to figure out how to navigate throughout their organization and get the buy-in for it, and really just enable. And so when I think about what we did with on-site solar with Anna got all the right people in the room. They all know what solar is. They all know it's possible to put it on the rooftop. The reason she was able to move it forward was because she got the right people there. She knew how to speak the Albany language when we weren't in the room. And it's that enablement that says, listen, one big beautiful bill just got signed. That may increase energy prices over the next months, years. This is something we need to be thinking about now. Or we are expanding. One of their sites is introducing new equipment that's going to significantly expand its electricity demand. We need to be thinking about that growing electricity cost now. And so that enablement that Anna was able to do, bring people in the room, speak their language, get them excited about this in the way that is specific to Albany, that is what makes a successful climate lead.
Thank you. I think you can drop your mic right there, Matt. That was beautiful. And Anna, again, congratulations on the incredible impact you've had so far at Albany and all the exciting projects ahead. Appreciate both of you joining. Thanks for the awesome conversation.
Thanks so much, Alexa and Matt. It's been great having this conversation.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.